Welcome to this predicted paper from On Maths. This paper represents the best guess for the upcoming exams. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our On Maths site. On Maths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. Enjoy! For this question, it's really important that we understand what the words sum and product mean. Now, sum just means add, and product just means times. So we're going to start by adding the 5 and the 4. So that will equal 9. And then what we're going to do is find the product of 9 and 7. So we're going to multiply them together. 9 times 7, which is 63. So our answer is 63. So with this question, we need to first of all count how many sides this polygon has. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's 10 sides. And we just need to know that a 10-sided shape is a decagon. Now we are expected to know all of the names of shapes between 3 and 10 sides. So if you don't know them already, just sit down and learn them. If I split this shape into 2 sets of 6 blocks, when we're asked to shade in 3/6, for each one of those, or each set of blocks, I'm going to shade in 3 of the 6. So that's 3 for the first set, and this is 3 for the second set. And that's our answer. Now you might notice that 3 over 6 is the same as a half, because we can divide on 1 by 3, and so all I need to do is shade in a half. Or you might convert 3 over 6 into 6 over 12, and there's 12 squares altogether, so it's 6 of the 12 squares. There's lots of ways of doing this question. So we've just got to know some vocab. Faces are where you could lay your hand flat on a shape. Then you've got edges where you can run your finger along. And then vertices are the corners, the bits that you would stab into your finger. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the front, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, including the back ones. So we can either use the calculator to work out what 1.2 cubed is, or we can do 1.2 times 1.2 times 1.2. Now if you want to use the calculator to go straight there, you're going to press or type in 1.2, and then normally there's a button that looks like this, X with a little 3, okay, and that will give you the answer. Or if you're not sure how to do that, you can times it by itself 3 times, and you get the answer 1.728. This question's all about like terms. So what we can do is we can add this 10u with this 11u to make 21u. We can also add this 6v with this plus 4v to make 10v. We can also add this 10w to this minus 6w. So 10 take away 6 is 4w, so plus 4w. But we can't add a u term to a v term to a w term. So we have to just leave them be. So our answer is 21u plus 10v plus 4w. But we can multiply them, we just can't add or subtract them. So for this question we need to convert the percentage to a decimal. So to do that we get that 8.9% and we just divide by 100. And so that will give us 0.089. And so we get that 0.089. Of normally means times in maths, so we just go times that by 457, and that will give us 40.67. Congruent means that it's a shape that is exactly the same as another shape, but it can be rotated, translated, can be flipped around, but it's basically the same shape. So I imagine cutting it out onto cardboard and trying to fit it into the other shape. If it can fit, then they are congruent. So looking at the shapes, we've got some triangles, we've got some weird looking shapes, but I'm going to look at A and I'm going to draw A in. So I'm just going to trace A. And what we can notice is if I manipulate that now, and if I bring it down to E, it kind of almost looks the same as E, but what I can do is actually just reflect it, and it's exactly the same as E. So A and E are congruent. If you imagine these numbers written out as a list, there would be 5 lots of zeros, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There'd be 9 lots of 1, so 1, 1, etc., etc. Okay, so when we're looking to see the total number of goals scored in the season, we could write them out as a list and then add them up, but a quicker way of doing that is just multiplying the amount of goals by the frequency. So we've got 5 lots of 0 goals, which will just be 0, 9 lots of 1 goal, so that's just 9, 4 lots of 2 goals, so that's 8, 6 lots of 3 goals, that's 18, and then 6 lots of 4 goals, that's 24. So all we need to do now is add up the 0, 9, 8, 18 and 24, which brings us to 59. So there were 59 goals scored. To find the factors of 30, we're just going to write down all the factor pairs, or all the pairs of numbers that multiply together to make 30. So 1 times 30 is 30, 2 times 15, 3 times 10. Now 4 doesn't go because 30 is not in the 4 times table. 5 times 6, and we notice that if we pick 6, it's just going to be 6 times 5, it's just going to be the opposite. So the factors are all the numbers that we've just written down, so it would be 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 10, 15 and 30. So we're going to start by writing 5 over 9 as a decimal, and to do that we just need to do 5 divided by 9, which will be 0.5 recurring. And to convert between a decimal and a percentage, we just times by 100. So we're going to get that 0.5 recurring, and we're going to times it by 100, and that will equal 55.555 recurring. And to the nearest percent, that's going to be 56, because that 5 will move that 5 up by 1. So we're going to start by doing a circle at minus 13 and a circle at minus 6. And x is between those values, so we're just going to join them up with a line. Probably move my circle down a little bit. Okay, next thing to do is figure out which of these dots are going to be filled in. So if it can equal that number, it gets filled in. So it can equal minus 13, so I'm going to fill that in. But for minus 6, it can't equal that, so it becomes a hollow dot. To find the average rate of petrol usage, which I'm just going to call rate, what we're going to do is we're going to get the distance travelled by the car, and we're going to divide that by the amount of fuel used. So the volume of the fuel used. So the distance was 135 kilometers. The volume of the fuel used was 9 litres. We do 135 divided by 9, which is 15. So it's 15, and this was in kilometers, and this was in litres. So it's going to be 15 kilometers per litre. First thing we need to do is work out the area of the wall, and so to do that we're just going to multiply the 44 by the 40. So 44 times 40 is 1,760. And next thing we notice is that each tin covers 10 meters squared. So it actually means we can work out the fact that there are 1,760 meters squared in total for our wall. And if each tin covers 10 meters squared, then we will need 176 tins. That's the amount of tins we need. And each tin costs £5.70, so it'd be 176 times the 5.7, or yeah, £5.70, or you could do it as 570 pence and convert it at the end. And that gives us a price of 1003.2. And so as money, that would be £1003.20. So for a time series graph, it's just a line graph with time being on the x-axis. And so we've got the first one plotted for us. So we're going to plot the next one. So it's 2011, 14 high. 2012, 17 high, which will be here. And then 2013 is 7 high. And then what we do is we just join them up with straight lines. And that's us done. We're going to first of all have to convert these both into the same unit. So we've got minutes and hours. That's not going to help us much. So what I'm going to do is pick the smaller unit, which will be minutes. So I'm going to keep that 50 minutes. And I'm going to convert 3 hours into minutes. That would be 180 because we times by 60. And I'm going to just remove the minutes now. And I can first of all divide by 10, and we want to try and make it nice and simple for ourselves. So divide by 10 would be 5 to 18. And we look at it, 5 and 18, actually there's nothing further we can do with that. So the ratio would be 5 to 18. The question asks us to find the bearing of Adrift from Billstown. So we're at Billstown and we're looking at the bearing of Adrift from it. So we're looking at this angle here. And so to find that angle, all we need to do is 360 degrees, which is angle at a point, and then take away the 39 degrees that we know, and that equals 321 degrees. And the reason why we find this angle is that all bearings are from north going clockwise. So the answer is 321. I'm going to start by writing out all the outcomes. So I'm going to start with trout. So for trout, as a main, I could have had biscuits for dessert. Trout as a main, I could have had cheesecake for dessert. Trout as a main, I could have pancakes as a dessert. Then I'm going to move on to a curry for main. So for curry for main, I could have had biscuits, could have had cheesecake, and I could have had pancakes. Now, to work out the probability, it's the amount of successful outcomes over the total amount of outcomes. So successful for this is a curry and pancakes. So curry and pancakes is a successful outcome, so it's just 1. The total amount are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the chance of me picking at random a curry and pancakes is 1 over 6. So you do need to know the parts of a circle. So the full distance around the circle is called the circumference. If you've got a little bit of it, it's an arc. If you've got a line across it, that would be a chord. And the part that's kind of trapped in there is called a segment. Then if you've got a line across the circle going through the centre, that's a diameter. If you've got a line just going to the centre, if I can draw it properly, then that's called a radius. If you've got a line that touches the circle just on one point, like that, that's a tangent. But in this case, we have a sector. So we can quickly draw a line of best fit for here. And it looks something like that. And if our line of best fit is increasing, like we have here, then we say the data is positive. If, however, the line of best fit is decreasing and looks like this, we say that it's a negative correlation. So positive if it's going up, which this one is. So it's a positive correlation. And if it's going down, then it's a negative correlation. If the data is all over the place, so it looks like something like this, where you've got the points everywhere, we say that's no correlation. So for this question, we just need to pick one of the coordinates. And I'm just going to pick this one here. And we just need to work out what the coordinates are. Well, it's going up in 2, so it's going to be 4 on this side. And this is kind of 4.5, so that's going to be 19 there. So we know it's 19 at the bottom and 4 at the side here. So we're going to have a look on our table for a 4 and a 19. We've got a 19 and 23 here. It's got to be a 4 and a 19, which is here. And it shows that the 4 is for paper 1 and the 19 is for paper 2. So our answer will just be paper 2. So to find the area of a rectangle, we just multiply the width and the length. So that's what we're going to do here. But whenever you have an expression representing a length or a width or anything really, you just put brackets around it. So we go u minus 2 times u plus 9. Okay, and the way we do this is with our grid. And just going to draw out the grid. And so we've got u minus 2, and we're multiplying it by u plus 9. Don't want too many for some reason. And so we've got u times u, which is u squared, u times minus 2, which is minus 2u, 9 times u, which is 9u, and 9 times minus 2, which is minus 18. And what we're going to do is we're just normally going to be able to add these ones together. So our answer will be u squared, and then we're going to do 9u plus minus 2u. Well, that's just going to be 9u take away 2u, which is 7u. So plus 7u, and then minus 18 at the end. So this question says that Adrian, Ben and Charlie have some sweets, and the ratio of Adrian to Ben to Charlie is 9:6:13. But it also says that Charlie got 56 more sweets than Adrian. So there's 56 more sweets. Well, looking at the actual parts of the ratio, there are 4 more parts. So plus 4 parts, which represents plus 56 sweets. So the 4 extra parts are worth 56 sweets. So 4 parts are worth 56 sweets. So 1 part would be 56 divided by 4, which is 14 sweets. So all we need to do now is work out how many parts there are. Well, there are 9 plus 6 plus 13 parts, which is 28. And each part is worth 14 sweets. So the total number of sweets will be 28 times 14. So 28 times 14 is 392. We can't work out what x is straight away, but we can find this value here. And we know with Pythagoras we can find a third length if we've got other 2 in a right angle triangle. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And a and b were labelled. C is always opposite the right angle. So it'd be 49 squared plus b squared equals 68 squared. And 49 squared is 2,401. And 68 squared is 4,624. So we are solving here, so let's get our lines down. And we're going to start by subtracting the 2,401 from both sides. So we've got b squared equals 2,223. Then we're going to square root both sides, and we've got b equal to 47.148, blah blah blah. Okay, we're now looking at the second diagram, and this time we're going to have A, we've got our B, and we're going to call X the C. So it'd be A squared plus B squared equals C squared, but this time A is 39. B we are given as 47.148, we've just worked that out, and we're looking for C. In fact, we can call it X now. Okay, so we need to square that. So we do 39 squared plus 47.148 squared, and that will be 3,744 equal to X squared. And we just get our lines in because we need to square root both sides, and we get 61.188 blah 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 is equal to X. It says it wants its two decimal places, so that will be 61.19. So we're told that from 14 people who liked football, so we've got 14 people here who said yes, they do like football. So we can fill up the 14 here. Now, we're told we started with 31. Therefore, if 14 liked football, then 17 must have not liked it. Carrying on the sentence, it says 4 like rugby. So 4 of those liked rugby. And we had 14 to start off with. Down this strand, and so that must mean that we've got 10 who don't like rugby. So of those 14, 4 liked rugby, so therefore 10 must have not liked rugby. But what about the bottom section, this part here? We've got 17 who didn't like football. Well, it says from the people who did not like football, 6 liked rugby. So we've got 6 there, and that must mean that we've got 11 who did not like rugby. Whenever we do these kind of questions, it's always best to convert the pattern into numbers. So we're just going to count the dots. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 in the first one. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So our sequence is going 9, 13, 17. And we're going to see what it's going up in. So we're adding 4 each time, and that means our sequence will involve 4n. And then what we do is we go backwards 1 to find the 0th term. So we're going to take away 1. So 9 take away 1 is 5. So the 0th term is 5, and the 0th term just tells us what to add on to the 4n. So 4n plus 5 will be our answer. So first thing to realise is that the formula for a volume of a cylinder is pi r squared h. So what we need to do first of all is work out the volume of the water butt that James currently has. So we're going to do the volume equals pi times the radius, which is 89 squared, times the height, which is 189. And when we do that, we get 1497069 lots of pi. And I'll keep this in terms of pi just for simplicity. Now, what we want is we want the volume to stay the same. So we're going to keep that as the volume, 1497069 pi. But we want the radius to change. So instead of the radius being 89, we want the radius to be 103. So times 103 squared. And we're trying to work out what the height is. Okay, so first thing we can do actually is just cross off the pi's from both sides. Actually, we don't really need them at all. And then we can get our solving things in, our solving lines, and we can divide both sides by the 103 squared. And on the left hand side we get 141.113 blah blah blah, and on the right hand side we get h. So the height will be 141.113. It says it wants it to 2 decimal places, so that would be 141.11. We know that when you multiply powers with the same base, and here we've got all these as base v, you add the powers. So we're actually looking at what do we add to 11, which is this one here, to get to the 15. 11 plus 4 is 15, so w therefore equals 4. To prove triangle congruence, you're going to have one of 4 answers. You're either going to have RHS, SSS, angle, angle, side, or angle, side, angle, and the last one, side, angle, side. So those are our options. So we've got to figure out what we have in this question. Well, we have a right angle, so an angle or right angle. We've got a side, which is actually the hypotenuse, because we know the hypotenuse is opposite the right angle. And then we just have another side. Now, it's not going to be SSS because we don't have 3 sides. We do have a side and an angle and a side, but the 2 sides are not next to the angle, so it's not going to be that one. And we don't have 2 angles, so it's not going to be this one. So the last one is RHS, which is right angle, which we have, hypotenuse, which we have, and side. So football is represented as a quarter of this pie chart. And so if there are 60 students altogether, we just do 60 divided by 4 to find a quarter of it, and that's 15. So there are 15 people who picked football. Now, between A and B, the shapes haven't changed size, so it's not an enlargement. They haven't rotated or they haven't mirrored, they've just moved. And the word we use for that is translation. So this has been a translation. And for a translation, we need to find out how far right they've gone and how far up they've gone. So we pick a point that we know on both shapes, and I'm going to pick the top left. And we count how many jumps we jump to the right. So 1, 2, 3. So we do 3 jumps to line it up with the other one. So there's a 3 at the top, to say 3 to the right. And then we count how far up we have to go. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we've actually had to go down, and whenever you go down, it's like having minus up. Okay, down is minus up, so it's going to be minus 4 because there were 4 jumps. It's important to remember our speed, distance, time triangle. So we've got speed equals distance over time. And here we are given a distance because from here we're 16 kilometers away from home. So the distance, let's just draw another triangle, the distance will be 16. And we're told that the speed is 32 kilometers per hour. So the speed is 32. So to find the time, we're going to do 16 divided by 32. So the time is a half an hour. And half an hour would bring us, if we start here, half an hour would bring us to 2030 because it's 8 o'clock where we start and we end therefore half an hour later. So we're just going to substitute the values that were given into the formula. So v squared equals, and then u is 16.4 squared plus 2 times a, which is 0.2, times s, which is 110.2. Type that into the calculator and you get 313.039 blah blah blah. And what we're going to do is we're just going to quickly solve this by square rooting both sides because it's v squared equals and we just want v equals. So v equals, and we're just going to square root that on the calculator, 17.692 blah blah blah. It says it wants it to 2 decimal places, that's just going to be 17.69. So in this question we are told that the centre of enlargement is at 6, 4. So let's just put across there. And what I'm going to do is just draw ray lines from the centre of enlargement and we're just going to go through each of the corners of our shape A, and we're going to just check whether it goes through the corner of shape B, which it does on this one. Let's just keep going. Yeah, it does on this one. But it does not on this one. So it says find the coordinate of the vertex of shape B that is not correct. So the coordinate is this one here, and so that would be -4, 1. We can write the equation of any straight line as y equals mx plus c, m being the gradient and c being the y-intercept. Now the y-intercept is the easy one because it's just where the line crosses the y-axis. In this case, it's going to cross it at 2. Now to find the gradient, we need to find two coordinates that we know, and preferably next to each other. So I'm going to pick the same coordinate, the y-intercept coordinate, and this coordinate here, we know what that is. And the definition of the gradient is for every one we go to the right, how far up we go. Well, here we actually go down, so we're technically going -3 up. So the gradient is going to be -3 because it's gone down 3. So our equation is m equals -3x plus 2. The formula for the area of a circle is area equals pi times r squared. Now in this question we're given what the area is, which is 706.86. And we need to find out what the radius is. So I'm going to get my lines in. And I'm going to start by getting rid of that times pi. So I'm going to divide both sides by pi and get the r squared on its own. So when I divide that by pi, I get 225.000 blah blah blah. Very close to 225. Then I want to get rid of this squared here. So to do that, I do the inverse, which is square root. And square root of 225 is 15, and the square root of 225.000 blah blah blah, whatever was in our calculator, is going to be 15.000, etc. So pretty much 15. 0.000, but it says it wants it to the nearest integer. Integer is a whole number, so my answer would be just 15. Any number to the power of 0 is equal to 1. So it doesn't matter if it's a number or a letter, it's always going to equal to 1. So we're going to first of all convert the 11 litres into millilitres. So we're going to do 11 times 1,000. Should be 11,000. Okay, so we're going to just draw a line, like a number line, and we're going to have the 11,000 in the middle. Now, what would be the next one down if we're looking at to the nearest 10 mil? So we're going to add a 10 mil on, which will be 11,010, and we're going to take the 10 mil away. So 11,000 take away 10 mil will be 10, 990. Now when we're looking at limits, with the upper and lower part of it, we are looking at halfway points. So halfway here and halfway here. So this halfway point will be 10,995, and the next one will be 11,005, and that's the halfway points. And so that is going to be our upper and lower bound. And we just need to say that V can be anything above the 10,995 and including that, and it can be anything below 11,005, but it can't include that, because if it did, if it was 11,005, it would have rounded up to 11,010. What I'm going to start off by doing is rearranging this equation so that it kind of matches this one. So I'm just going to write it down. And we want the n to be -2. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my rearranging lines in. And we're just going to add 10 to both sides. Now, we've already got this line drawn for us on this graph. And so all we need to do is draw this line. So we've got y equals 10x squared plus 8x minus 2 drawn for us. We just need to draw this line, which is y equals 10, and see where they cross over to find the solutions. So y equals 10 will be all the way up at the top. Let's just make sure I get it nice. There we are. I need to move that up a little bit. There we are. And let's read off the values that that gives us. So it comes down here, and it comes down here. So the values it comes down to are -1.6 and 0.8. And those are our solutions. We're told here that y is proportional or inversely proportional to x, so we put 1 over x because it's inversely, and inversely means it's going to be proportional to 1 over. I'm going to replace that proportionality sign for an equals, and to do that we need to multiply the right hand side by k, so it becomes k over x. And we're told that x is 7.9 when y is 10.27, so we're just going to substitute those both in so that we can find out what k is, what our constant is. I'll do a bit of simple solving by multiplying both sides by 7.9. When I do that, I get that k is 10.4. Go rewrite our equation we wrote here, but this time with our k value in, which is 10.4. And we're asked to find out what y is when x is 8. So we just do 10.4 divided by 8. And when we do that, we get 1.3. So we're asked to express TQ in terms of P and Q. Well, we've got another Q here, because all of these are congruent parallelograms. And we have a P there. So if we're starting at T and getting to Q, we can go along this path here and down this path here. So we're going backwards down Q, in fact backwards down 2 lots of Q, and then the correct way down P. So it's either -2Q plus P or P minus 2Q. We don't have to for this question, but it might be helpful to draw a Venn diagram for this. And we've got green and brown leaves, so we'll have green on the left and brown on the right. So green and brown. And we're told that there are 19 green and 15 brown and 6 that were not green and brown. So the only number we can put in is the 6 on the outside of the Venn diagram. We're told that 19 are green, but we don't know which, either they're in here or a bit of both. So what we can do is we can label the center X, and we can say that there are 19 take away X just green, because they could have been both green and brown. And for the brown we can do the same, so it'd be 15 minus X. And for the next step we know that all of them together add up to 32, because it says in the question. So we're going to add all of these, the 19 minus X, the X, the 15 minus X, and the 6 together, and we know that equals 32. And let's get our solving lines in. So we've got minus X and minus X, that's be a minus X. And we've got 19 plus 15 plus 6, which will be 40, equals 32. We're going to take away the 40 both sides. And we can just times by -1 both sides to make them both positive. So now we know x is 8, we can start filling in the Venn diagram. So it's 19 take away 8, which will be 11. X is 8, so we know that that's 8. And 15 take away 8, which is 7. So find the amount that were green and brown. We know it's going to be 8. So I'm just going to write this out again, just so we've got a bit more space. Okay, the way we solve this is very similar to solving an equation with equal signs, but this time we're going to do 2 tramlines because there's 3 sides of this inequality, and we need to get x on its own. So looking at the fact that we've got 3x minus 5, we're going to deal with that minus 5 first. So we're going to add 5 to all 3 sides. So add 5 here, so we'll just leave 3x in the middle, and add 5 to the right hand side. Now we need to get rid of that 3, so we're going to divide by 3, and again we need to do it all 3 sides. So divide by 3, and divide by 3. So we've got x is greater than or equal to 7, and then we've got 10 is greater than x on the right hand side. To be able to work out this question, we need to work out the amount of student hours required to paint the wall. And to work that out, we've got 6 students and it takes them 11 hours. So 6 times 11 means it's going to take 66 student hours. So if we had 1 student, it would take 66 hours. 2 students would be half of that because they share the work, and etc, etc. So here we've got 6 students and it take 11 hours, and it says how long will it take 7 students? Well, if there's 66 hours, or student hours, but they're sharing the time, we just divide 66 by 7. So 66 divided by 7 is 9.428, blah blah blah. And it says it wants its 2 decimal places, so it will take them 9.43 hours. Now check this makes sense. We've got 6 students and it takes them 11 hours. So we'd think if we had more students helping to paint the wall, it would take less hours. So we've gone from 11 hours to about 9.5. So that sounds right. So we've got a right angle triangle here, and it involves 2 lengths and an angle. So we know we're going to be using trigonometry for this. And first step of trigonometry is labeling the sides. So the one opposite the right angle is the hypotenuse. The one opposite the marked angle is the opposite, and the one between the right angle and the marked angle is the adjacent. Now notice there's not a number or a letter next to the adjacent, so we can cross that out straight away. Next thing we're going to do is draw our triangles for SOHCAHTOA. So I'm going to have SOHCAHTOA, and we've crossed out the A, so we're going to cross out the Ka and the Toa because they both involve an A. That leaves SO, and SO is short for sine x, or sine the angle, equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. So the angle is 83, so it's going to be sine 83 equals the opposite, which we've labelled as x, over 7.9. Then we can put our solving lines in, and all we need to do here is times both sides by 7.9. And be careful when you do sine 83 times 79. Most calculators open a set of brackets when you type in sine, cos or tan, so make sure you close them after you type in times 7.9. And when you do that, you get 7.841 blah 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 equals x, and so rounding that to 2 decimal places is 7.84. So the way this formula works is we have m, which is the final amount. The 2000 here is our initial amount. The decimal in here is our multiplier, and the power here is the amount of years. So the way multipliers work is they are the percentage divided by 100. So if we go the other way and times it by 100 to make it back into a percentage, it will be 102.9%. Now it says, what is the interest rate of the bank? Well, the interest rate is always going to be 100%. Well, this 102.9% is 100% plus the interest rate, which will equal the 102.9%. So the interest rate is going to be the 2.9%. You always start off with 100%. So if I put £5 into my bank, I've got 100% of that £5, and then the interest rate is on top of that 100%. So our answer here will be 2.9%. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our OnMaths site. OnMaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.